1080, download the app.
And streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, your guest host, sitting in for our friend and brother while boss of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. And is in South Carolina today, where Reverend Jackson is lying in state. We'll give you the full update on that. But I want to say happy Monday to everybody. Happy Monday to everybody. To play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Uh, uh, Also, be sure to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel. That way, you get to see us and we get to uh, be in community with each other on that platform. We always pay extra close attention to folks who get in the group chat there on YouTube, and so don't be shy while we are on air. Uh, as I mentioned before, I am the guest host here. I am typically on KBLA weekdays, Monday through Thursday, from 4 to 6 p.m., hosting a More Perfect Union, where I also serve as White House correspondent for KBLA. And so, uh, uh, you know, if you're looking for an extra opportunity, an extra hankering, as some of the folks might say, to get beyond some of the trending headlines and get some good analysis and hear from leaders on the front lines. We got you covered here, KBLA. Between the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and a More Perfect Union, we have you covered. Now, I am really excited about today's guest. And I think Ernest Krim III is a really incredible guest to get us started, considering not just the news of the day, but also, coming off of that BAFTA controversy. If you've been paying attention to what's been afoot on these internet streets, we know that Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo have been getting a lot of praise from folks for the way that they handled uh, the yelling of a racial slur at them while they were on stage by someone who uh, is disabled with Tourette's. It has created quite the conversation. It's been interesting to watch people from the disabilities community react to that. I'm still on the lookout for a black person with Tourette's. Let me just say, my booking team is working day and night to find a black person with Tourette's. I want to hear what their experience is like because and I know that there aren't many spaces that we can be in as black people and just say things and get the kind of grace that folks have been expecting for the man who yelled that slur repeatedly while Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan were on stage. There was a black woman who also experienced that as well. And so I'm on the lookout. And if y'all know a black person with Tourette's, tag them uh, in the chat. If you're streaming on YouTube, tag them in the chat because we want to talk to them. Here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, here on KBLA, we seek first to understand. We seek first to understand. And so, we come with no malintent. We come really wanting to understand because, even the folks on the internet that I've seen popping off on this, I ain't seen nobody black with Tourette's. So we're going to be on the lookout for that, and I'm really looking forward to getting Ernest Krim III, his reaction to that and so much more. He's an Emmy nominated producer, he's a public teacher, an anti racist educator, and a hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower folks and to educate folks, and to do so in a way that uplifts the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's right. Even in this environment, Mr. Krim is all about uplifting, raising consciousness. And I'm just amazed at how he's leaning into technology in order to do that. If you haven't seen already, he is quite the star on these internet streets, because he, teaches Black history to the world through social media. In fact, if my notes are correct, he reaches roughly 4 million people each month. We're going to learn more about his body of work and get his reaction to news of the day when we come forward. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and really delighted to be in conversation with a very special guest, Ernest Krem III. Again, if you are on these internet streets, then you might have already seen him. You might have already seen his incredible work. It is an honor to be in conversation with, again, an Emmy-nominated producer, really a public scholar, an anti-racist educator, and a hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate at a time where we see so much mis and disinformation on these internet streets. He's over here putting out some stuff that you can stand on and trust. Ernest, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, brother. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you. First things first, this weekend here in Los Angeles, we celebrated the NAACP Image Awards. It was rare air. It felt like the oxygen that so many of us needed in this time where we see so many people and so much of our history under attack in this country. NBC News reporting that Delroy Lindo made his first public comment following that racial slur incident at the BAFTAs. I was at the NAACP Image Awards, and I can tell you the audience was rooting for Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo and took to their feet after they had addressed it. Delroy said, quotes, "Before we start, I'd just like to officially say we appreciate all the support and the love that we have been shown in the aftermath of what happened last week." Lindo also acknowledged the sense of community at the NAACP Image Awards, saying, quotes, "It means a lot to us. It's an honor to be here amongst our people this evening, amongst so many people who have shown us so much incredible support. And it's a classic case of something that could have been very negative, becoming very positive." Ernest, what's your response to the fallout and lack thereof related to the BAFTA Awards?
Yeah, there are so many layers, brother. Thank you for laying out that context for us all. I think one, when you brought up the fact that you have yet to meet someone Black with Tourette's, I I was over here rolling because I never actually thought of that. So I had to do a quick Google search, and this is just a really quick Google search. It says data suggests a prevalence of 2.3% to 3.9% in Black communities. And I wonder how many of us get that diagnosis, or even if we have it, if it would be recognized as such. Because when I was in the class, oftentimes if we have kids who might have some type of disability like that, we are quicker to do what we do in society, and that is to enact punitive measures as opposed to giving them the assistance that they need. And we know, in fact, that if a Black person was to do something like that towards another racial group or religious group, and they said they had Tourette's, they would not have been shown any sympathy based on our experience, right? So when I saw that, I reflected on the experience I had, because for many folks, they began to know me around 2016 when I dealt with the hate crime. It was different circumstances. The person was intentionally calling us this word. This person intentionally spat on me and my wife. So she cannot have used their lie that she had Tourette's. She was there with two Black friends who were defending her and saying that it wasn't that big of a deal. So I have an explicit experience that is relative to this, but I'm also aware of just how people in that moment at the BAFTAs made excuses for him. They did the exact same thing for her. And until this day, we see so many excuses for those who practice racism. We infantilize a lot of folks in the white community. We make it seem as though, oh, they didn't know any better. And again, I understand that he had Tourette's, so I'm not even really focusing on him. It's more so the context of which came out of this. He said other remarks that we know, are disrespectful and slurs as well, but those were edited out. Like he told y'all, he wanted to make sure people knew, like, no, I didn't just do that. I did that too, but they didn't play it. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they play those remarks? Why didn't they play those protests, right? Why is it that they're able to say that they didn't even they didn't hear it? They heard the whole show, but when they heard that remark, nothing went off in them to say, oh my God, we got to make sure that's not played, which to me lets us know how often it's said in their presence when we aren't around. They didn't think it was a big deal. And I want to also, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
No, please, please.
I wanted to say too, when I saw this point made by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, and I think it's important to mention this, you know, this brother who had Tourette's, of course, that wasn't the intention, but we have to make sure we understand when we talk about racism, it's not about the intention, it's about the impact, right? And the fact that he could even the fact that he exists in a racialized society where he's aware of that word, even though he may not have wanted to consciously use it, means that he has been born and raised and nurtured and socialized in a racist society. Because what he thought of when he saw those two brilliant black brothers immediately came out. That's what came out because the society nurtured that. He of course probably existed in an environment where that was often said. So it's not about the intent, it's about the impact. Because if you accidentally hit somebody while you're driving, yeah, you didn't mean to do it. That's why it's called a car accident, right? If it was on purpose, it'd be called a car purpose. It was a car accident. Your insurance company knows you hopefully didn't mean to do it, but they still got to help you pay for the damage that you caused. And we are often on the receiving end of these unintentional, right? Unintentional, quote unquote, acts of racism. And we are expected to uphold dignity in the midst of that. Those brothers could have sat down, they could have froze and got stuck, they could have shouted something back, but instead they decided to continue. And they didn't have any obligation to do that. But I think that shows that is a manifestation of the resolve we have had to have in this have had to have in this country for hundreds of years. And on the last point, I want to also echo the point you talk about with the NAACP awards being the following week. And I think about how beautiful that is, because in this moment, we have to have community. When we deal with those situations, it's a breath of fresh air to be amongst our people and let our hair down and know that we are with folks who love us and understand what we went through. And I'm sure Delroy and Michael got some of those hugs from some big mamas in the audience, got some hugs from some elders, some daps from some guys, and it just made them feel accepted and embraced. And regardless of what's going on the outside, I want everybody to understand this in LA and beyond, that we have to wrap our arms around each other, because we have been here before. We know how worse things can get, and we know how bad it is now. But when we come together unified, regardless of any small differences we have, we're unbeatable together.
Double click on that. I want to give you an opportunity to situate what happened at the BAFTA, situate the response that Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo experienced at the NAACP Image Awards, to situate that in our Black history. It's not lost on me, and I suspect not lost on you, that you had two Black men that were on stage having this experience, who were expected to respond in a way that was otherworldly. They weren't expected to have a human response. They were expected to sort of rise above it, to ignore it, right? And that is not unique. That is a consistent part of our history. And so, being that you are the public historian that you are, and that folks can stand on the content that you produce on these internet streets, even in the midst of so much mis and disinformation out there, go ahead and situate what happened in Black history.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important with that, brother, to your point, to point out the fact that when I speak to different groups of kids across the country, because we know instances of hate crimes on the rise all across America, particularly in our schools. The usage of this word in mixed environments is particularly problematic, and it's happening all across the country now. And when I go speak to audiences and kids about this, I'll often ask the kids how many of them have heard this word used, and how many of them, particularly if they're Black, have had this word used against them. And there are several times when it's been, I would say 80 to 90% of the audience, right? The follow-up question I'll say is then, who understands what this word means historically? And you might have two kids who keep their hands up. And of course, these are the Black kids in the audience. Most people of this younger generation, so I'm going to say maybe Gen Z, Gen Alpha below, right? they don't understand the historical context of what this word even means because it has been so diluted in popular culture, music, movies, and things like that. This word is symbolic to the dehumanization that we have faced historically. And because whether you agree with it or not, we know that culture, we have tried our best to reclaim it, right? We also understand through that reclamation process, we have said, look, we don't own a lot of physical things and cultural things here, but we want to say, look, just don't say that word to us. Don't say that word around us. Don't say that word to us. I don't care if you agree with how we use it amongst each other. That's how we do it. That's a family thing. Let us resolve it. Don't use it around us. And there is a certain level of ego and pride within some folks in the white community who then turn and say no, because they want to have access to everything. They want to be able to claim ownership to everything. So when we say, look, y'all got all of that, you took all our art and all your profit off it, just don't say this. No, right? it's that refusal, because it's also too proof of their ability to have political power to enforce this caste system in many ways on us. Because when I think about what I dealt with almost 10 years ago, and I would talk to people in the media especially, I would say, look, you hear the word and you're disgusted, but I'm more disgusted by the thought processes and actions that reflect that word, because I grew up on the south side of Chicago and I see what it means and what it meant to be treated like that. I grew up never being called that to my face, but I saw what that actually looks like. And I'm saying all that contextually so folks understand that when you have these two brilliant black men, these actors, on stage in a mixed environment, you already on alert. You already got, the racial battle fatigue and having to deal with all the extra isms and issues and discrimination just to get to that point. Because when you get to that stage, you have had to work harder than anyone else in that room. You and any other black woman in that room have had to work harder than anybody else. So you already on edge because how they might perceive you. They might not say the word, but the stares, the people who are ignoring you. And when you are in a situation like that, when you come to be celebrated and to have fun, that happens. I think back to my situation, and although I'm a teacher, I'm not a psychologist, but research will show that you can respond a few different ways: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And often what that means is you are responding in a way that folks in your ancestry had to respond when faced with that same exact instance of trauma. Because in your mind, if you get called that, you ain't thinking it's 2026. You thinking this person might follow this up with an overt attack. That was a word. That was a trigger word. That's like you calling a play while y'all playing basketball. It's like the other team knows which that's the dog whistle, which ain't really a dog whistle at all. So for them to be able to have the fortitude to, I would say in that situation, they didn't seem to freeze. They did not fawn, because fawning would mean you make excuses for it. They fought through it, and they did not have to at all. That's the context of that moment. And I want to close this by saying too, that it was probably a reminder to them. And I'm sure these brilliant brothers already understand this, but regardless of the rooms you go into, the awards you get, the payment you get for the movies you play, there are in certain spaces where they will still treat you how they believe you are because of the color of your skin. And I want to make sure I say that, how they view the color of our skin, not that our color and who we are and our ancestry is a problem. It's an unfortunate reminder, but it's also, to me, proof that we are constantly on their minds, constantly the topic of conversation, as if we did something to them. But in fact, the thing that they are most guilty of is the fact that we are brilliant in spite of everything we've had to face.
Yeah, and the fact that this happened not here in the United States, this happened in Europe. This happened overseas, right? And it's a reminder that when we talk about the legacy of white supremacy, it's not unique to the United States, right? I think once upon a time I heard a quote I never forgot that said that white supremacy is the ocean, not the shark. And I think that is a tremendous opportunity. This represents a tremendous opportunity for us to widen the frame, right? We are, particularly in the United States, when we think about and address racism here, we're made to think of it as the shark, right, and not as the ocean, right? And I think this incident at the BAFTAs, it reinforces that, right? It reinforces the harm that is still being done, and it begs the question, what if the gentleman with Tourette's, what if he yelled out something that was anti-LGBTQ? Would folks have rushed to give him the same amount of grace? If he would have yelled out something anti-Semitic, would folks have rushed to give him the same grace? We're going to talk about that when we come forward. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your guest host, in conversation with Ernest Krim III, our very special guest. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. California Governor Gavin Newsom is criticizing President Trump over the strikes in Iran, saying there's no clear plan or defined endgame.
This historic president, who's historically unpopular, is trying to distract from his failures across the spectrum.
Speaking in San Francisco, Newsom called Trump a chaos president and a wrecking ball, accusing him of creating instability without laying out a strategy. The suspect in a mass shooting outside of a downtown Austin, Texas bar that left 2 people dead and 14 injured has been shot and killed by police. Authorities say the man, a Senegalese native and naturalized U.S. citizen with a history of mental illness, opened fire at Buford's Beer Garden. And a civil trial against Bill Cosby begins today in California. Donna Motzinger alleges Cosby drugged and raped her in 1972 while she was working at a restaurant. She says Cosby is not expected to testify. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill weekdays after 3 p.m. for their $5 happy hour and try their new chili crisp dumplings. Bold, crunchy, and tossed in a fiery crisp, paired with a premium Waba beverage drink like their authentic Thai tea. Get both for just $5 only at Waba Grill. It's for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers wrapped up their 2-game road trip up north with a 128-104 win at Sacramento. Luka Doncic played only 3 quarters but finished with 28 points and 9 assists. LeBron dropped 24 points. The Lakers beat Sacramento and Golden State by a combined 52 points. The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 137-117 win over New Orleans at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The 137 is a season high for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. The number 2 team in the country beat USC Sunday 73-50 to finish 18-0 in the Big Ten Conference. The Bruins are the first women's basketball team to go undefeated in the Big Ten since Maryland did it in 2015. Charlize Legger-Walker led the Bruins with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, in for Jesse Jackson Jr. Really enjoying the conversation with Ernest Krem III. He is our special guest this hour. It's no wonder why he is an Emmy-nominated producer, a public scholar, an anti-racist educator, and a hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate the world. You're looking at some of his work there on your screen. For those who are streaming on YouTube, you can see his work, Black History Saved My Life, how my viral hate crime led to an awakening. You can also see his work, Black History, Now Black History Can Save Your Life, the ABCs of Affirming Black Children. Just so many great works that are quite timely, if I don't say so myself. Ernest, welcome back to the show.
Thanks again for having me, brother.
Well, thank you for being here. We've been talking quite a bit about the fallout from the BAFTAs, and part of the reason why we're talking about it is because Delroy Lindo commented on it this weekend at the NAACP Image Awards here in Los Angeles for the first time since. And before the break, I was asking you to sort of situate what's happened in Black history. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to think, well, what might have the public response been? What might the immediate response have been if the gentleman with Tourette's had yelled out something that was anti-LGBTQ, or if they yelled out something that was anti-Semitic, or they yelled out something that was, um, even, sexist, in some way, shape, or form, you know, how that response might have been different. I think there's an opportunity to deepen folks' understanding in terms of what anti Black racism looks like, and how there are layers to this. There are layers to this because you can be LGBTQ, you can be Sephardic Jew, Black Jew, right, and still experience anti-Black racism, right? And so talk to us about your thoughts on how the yelling out of the N word slur, um, compare and contrast that to other slurs and what those responses might have been, in order to illuminate how anti-Black racism works.
Yeah, for sure, Dr. Corte. Thank you for again the wonderful question and setup. Um, this is why I believe this show is even so important, especially in moments like this. When I think about the platform that Jesse Jackson Jr. has, and also think about the legacy of his father, Reverend Jesse Jackson. I think when we even talk about this word, I reflect on what he said and what I heard growing up from Reverend Jackson, that I am somebody. And that situation that we saw at the Baptist is proof of why those words still resonate and why they are so important. He was saying that in the 70s. He was on Sesame Street saying it, black and white, grainy video. But if you go into a classroom or you talk to our kids and you say those words and don't even let them know where it came from, it's still relevant. And this is precisely why. The historical context of this and why the other phrases, it's crazy because we are the only community where the slur has to be abbreviated with a letter. That lets you know already, like that's the barometer for whether something is offensive or not, is that because people know deep down inside the community in America, and like you said, globally understands what has come as a result of that dehumanization, as folks here who were a part of a rich culture in West and Central Africa and were forcibly had our identities removed. That was the name that was given in its place. And I think that the very fact that you can ask that question and we can all, as the listening audience, know what you mean by it and answer it in our minds subconsciously is proof of how we are still being treated, and again, how we are viewed because of the color of our skin, not because of the color of our skin. I immediately think about what Spain did when they initially came here, because we got to remember they were the originators of the genocide and the enslavement that happened here, starting with, of course, their boy Columbus in 1492. They instituted a racial caste system that had upwards of 14 different categories, y'all. Now the English were a little, they were more simple. They were just like, look, you're black, you're white. Like they wanted, they didn't really want to think of all of these intricate details. But for Spain, which they set the standard, 1492, that we're talking to 1619, those who were viewed to be at the bottom were those who had like pure African ancestry or pure indigenous ancestry. Even if you were Spanish and you were like quote unquote purely Spanish, but even if you were born here, you weren't regarded as high. I think that kind of encapsulates what that word means to people and what they know it means. There's a certain level of even disrespect that is understood across the board, because when that's said that way, there isn't a fear that they have internally that something would happen. Otherwise, when they heard the word, and we know they heard it when it was pre-recorded, if they had that fear, they would have immediately taken it out. And we probably would have found out about it because of people in the audience that realized it wasn't there. They don't have a fear that they will lose sponsors. They don't have a fear that they'll lose money. They don't have a fear that there will be any other type of consequences or repercussions. They don't have fear they'll be blackballed. Or I should say whiteballed. I'm sorry.
Right. And you're right. They don't have a fear, because I was reading somewhere that Warner Brothers Discovery, there were executives at Warner Brothers Discovery that were pushing the BAFTAs to scrub that exchange from the broadcast. I think there was a 2-hour delay. And it seems that they were selective in terms of what they decided to scrub and what they didn't. Apparently, there was an award winner who had made a comment about the Palestinians, a pro-Palestinian remark, and apparently that was edited out, right? And so, it's interesting what gets edited out, what gets censored, what gets scrubbed, and what doesn't. And somebody down the line, somebody who had decision-making authority, did it was either a complete fail on their part, or they decided that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And so that is something that happened overseas, but we're also seeing this play out here in the United States in corporate America. And I want to give you a chance to connect the dots between what we saw take place, not just on stage at the BAFTAs, but what took place in the editing room following the BAFTAs. I want you to connect the dots between that and the posture, the behavior that we're seeing from corporate America and their withdrawal from diversity, equity, inclusion, even though there are a lot of consumer insights out there, consumer research that suggests that America is browning, that we are on path to becoming a majority minority nation. In fact, there are a number of states that are already there. And so when we come forward, we're going to connect those dots for us. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, in conversation with our incredible guest this hour, Mr. Ernest Crime III.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are the architect of your own legacy, but you don't have to build it alone. I'm Lisanne Basquiat, a board-certified NLP expert and legacy healing strategist. I've built the Shaping Freedom platform to give you the exact tools you need to evolve. From my signature podcast and Lounging with Lisanne meditations to our intentional candles and journals. Stop living on autopilot. Visit shapingfreedom.com to access the teachings and tools you deserve for you and your family. Your evolution begins at shapingfreedom.com.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America.
But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Really enjoying this conversation this hour with Ernest Krim III, Emmy-nominated producer and progressive education activist. And we've been talking about the fallout from the BAFTAs and really just sort of connecting the dots for folks, because sometimes we think what's happening over there, in this case in Europe, well, what does it have anything to do with us here? And there is a tie-in. The response from the BAFTAs, not just on stage, but backstage and in the edit room. There's a direct line between that response and part of what we're seeing here in the United States, in corporate America, for example. And not just corporate America, I should say, but we're seeing, across industries where there's an absolute retreat from all things diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though there are consumer insights that suggest we should be doing the opposite. And Ernest, I think it's so short-sighted for the companies, for the interests that have capitulated to the leadership of our federal government, putting them on notice, saying basically, you sow into this, right? You become a target. You may catch a case from the Department of Justice. We're going to make you pay one way or another, even if it means tying you up in court, right? Even if it means, making that regulatory approval that you need so bad, right? Making that more difficult, more cumbersome, or saying it's not going to happen. I mean, we just saw the CEO of Netflix last Thursday on the cusp of sealing the deal of this merger with Warner Brothers Discovery. We saw the CEO of Netflix go into the White House to meet with the president. Came out, and then what do we see? We saw Netflix withdrew their bid, paving the way for the hostile takeover led by Paramount, led by Skydance, led by Trump allies Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison. Right? We're already starting to see changes on CBS being facilitated by a Trump ally. We have our sister Gayle King, who is lip syncing for her life on air as host of CBS Mornings. It's unclear what's going to happen with her contract, but, all of these things are not disconnected, are they, Ernest?
Oh, not at all, brother. Not at all. And I think to your point of the short-sightedness is, you think about what happened with Target and the amount of money they lost versus an organization and company like Costco, who is breaking records. I mean, honestly, my first time at Costco was after this whole debacle. Conveniently, they had open one around the corner from us. So I said, let me go ahead and check it out. Let me just see what all the hype is about. And also, too, the fact that, they paying their workers a little, all that other stuff, right? But I think the point is, we have seen time and time again, study after study, that shows that an investment in diversity, an investment at rectifying systemic racism is actually profitable. They talk about how America is missing out on tens and trillions of dollars by not rectifying systemic racism and that legacy. When you have diverse minds and diverse people at the table, you have more creativity that comes to that table as well. To your point earlier of white supremacy or white insecurity being this entire ocean, there are people who would rather let that ship sink as opposed to allowing a highly qualified black or otherwise captain take control of the ship to steer us away from that iceberg that we all see, that ever-present danger. This country is growing more and more diverse day by day, second by second. You have a negative birth rate within white communities. There is a fear that they are being replaced. The inevitable is the inevitable. This country will continue to grow diverse. And we have to continue to remember, whenever I think about how dire our situation is here, the thing that gives me hope and solace is understanding, for one, our history and the success we've been able to have when we come together, whether it be in Montgomery or whether it be Selma, whether it be in Chicago, whether it be in LA or otherwise. When we come together, that people power is undefeated. When we decide we want to withhold our money from an institution, we win, right? When we stand up, we win. When we fight, we win. When we protect us, we win. Target is suffering because of this. And I think about what that could even mean for the various ways we have been disenfranchised and restricted in creating our own institutions that could even mirror a Target. You know, when this was starting to happen, I was doing a lot of research to see, like, man, why don't we have something that's the equivalent that's owned by somebody black? And we have to remind folks, it's not because we aren't creative or that we aren't entrepreneurial or that we have, excuse me, haven't been here long enough. Many of these institutions like Walmart and otherwise and Target have been here since the 50s and 60s. What were we doing in many different cities in the 50s and 60s? Fighting off water hoses, fighting off dogs, fighting to vote. And we had black institutions, but many times they put highways through them. They disenfranchised, they burnt them down. So I want every black person that's listening to LA and beyond to remember and understand that the results that we see, the inequity that we see is not of our own doing. It's a result of a very careful and tedious process that was created intentionally, right? So when we bring this back around about the BAFTA situation and the N-word situation, this global thing, remember, America used to be a part of the British Empire. And what they are doing now is a reflection of that word being said and overlooked. It's the pulling back of the support for our organizations and our people. It is overlooking a more qualified black woman as a candidate for president or governor or senate or whatever, right? That is the manifestation of that, because they have long decided that we ain't got to say the word out in the open, but we can talk about it in the boardrooms and ensure that they know that's how we truly feel about them. But when we come together, y'all, that's when the magic happens.
That's right. That's right. And that's how we overcome the dehumanization, because that's fundamentally what this is. It's about dehumanizing people. Exactly. You know, if I call you the N-word, I'm calling you something that I don't believe is human, right? If I treat you like the N-word without even saying it, right, I'm treating you as something less than human. I'm treating you without dignity. And, you know, that is the work that we all have upon us. In our remaining sort of minute and a half, Ernest, I would be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to give us some homework. Give us some homework. What homework do you have for all of us? What call to action do you have for all of us? I certainly believe that it's on all of us to do what we can from where we are with what we have. With that said, give us our marching orders.
For sure. Thanks again for this time, Brother Corte, and being here with you in this moment. And again, condolences to the Jackson family, sending love and appreciation to you all, especially my brother Jesse Jackson Jr. as he's away for this week. My homework is going to be, and what I say in my K-5 online classes, I tell my students that they have life work. So even if I don't tell them this every day or every class, they need to know that what they should engage in should be a part of their life process and not just something that they should do because I'm ordering them to. I want to remind folks that the Black Panthers had 10 demands of the system, but they had upwards of nearly 40 internal rules that they were supposed to abide by. And one of those rules and expectations was to read for 2 hours a day, whether it be books, newspapers, articles, things like that, magazines, to stay abreast of the current political situation. So we understand that looks different today because of just the various things we have to engage in, more distraction, stuff like that. But I like that as a goal because it's very difficult to achieve, which means we have to constantly strive towards it. And it's not just a reading of 2 hours a day. Remember that the Black Panthers have programs that solve or sought to solve all the issues we face that the system wasn't providing. So my life work for everybody is find a book to read, but then also think about how we can apply it moving forward. If you don't have the programs your community needs right now, get organized. So join an organization that's trying to provide it, or get with people to create something. Again, we have seen ourselves solve these issues. We have seen it time and time again. This moment is calling for us to get back active and into these streets to ensure our community is served.
Our thanks to Ernest Krim III. Be sure to follow him on Substack. Quickly, what's your Substack?
Yes, Krim's Class. I'm still not back on IG, y'all, but I'm trying my best to get back on there for y'all. I'm on TikTok too.
All right. Our thanks to you. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward in our next hour.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. California Governor Gavin Newsom is criticizing President Trump over the strikes in Iran, saying there's no clear plan or defined endgame.
This historic president, who's historically unpopular, is trying to distract from his failures across the spectrum.
Speaking in San Francisco, Newsom called Trump a chaos president and a wrecking ball, accusing him of creating instability without laying out a strategy. The suspect in a mass shooting outside of a downtown Austin, Texas bar that left 2 people dead and 14 injured has been shot and killed by police. Authorities say the man, a Senegalese native and naturalized U.S. citizen with a history of mental illness, opened fire at Buford's Beer Garden. And a civil trial against Bill Cosby begins today in California. Donna Motzinger alleges Cosby drugged and raped her in 1972 while she was working at a restaurant. She says Cosby is not expected to testify. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill weekdays after 3 p.m. for their $5 happy hour and try their new chili crisp dumplings. Bold, crunchy, and tossed in a fiery crisp, paired with a premium Waba beverage drink like their authentic Thai tea. Get both for just $5 only at Waba Grill. It's for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers wrapped up their 2-game road trip up north with a 128-104 win at Sacramento. Luka Doncic played only 3 quarters but finished with 28 points and 9 assists. LeBron dropped 24 points. The Lakers beat Sacramento and Golden State by a combined 52 points. The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 137-117 win over New Orleans at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The 137 is a season high for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. The number 2 team in the country beat USC Sunday 73-50 to finish 18-0 in the Big Ten Conference. The Bruins are the first women's basketball team to go undefeated in the Big Ten since Maryland did it in 2015. Charlize Leger-Walker led the Bruins with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message. Hi, I'm Tavish Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the Art of Conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it? Yeah, man.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580. Download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nee Cordelai Corte, in for Jesse Jackson Jr. Yes, that's Nee Cordelai Corte. Folks always are quite tickled when I tell them I'm the youngest of 5 boys: David, James, John, Joseph, and Nee Cordelai. But I promise, if you practice, you're going to get it. Don't be intimidated by it. Nee Cordelai Corte, that's me, and I am delighted to be in conversation with our next guest, but also delighted to be sitting in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr., who is in South Carolina today, where Reverend Jackson is lying in state. I saw some of the video from that location earlier this morning. And it was heartwarming to see so many folks coming out to pay their respects to Reverend Jackson. So many people coming out to pay their respects in South Carolina, where it all began. As many of you know, Reverend Jackson is from South Carolina. And so for him to be lying in state where it all started, I'm sure is very special to everyone who is a native of South Carolina. Of course, later this week, there will be services in Chicago, the place that Reverend Jackson called home for so many years. The services will be in Chicago, and we will be there for those services. And so stay tuned for more information on that. But in this hour, I'm looking forward to being in conversation with Reverend Adam Russell Taylor. He's the president of Sojourners. He's also an author and author of not just any book. It's called A More Perfect Union, A New Vision for Building the Beloved Community. I love that so much because my afternoon drive time show here on KBLA, Talk 1580, is called A More Perfect Union. And so we're going to geek out on the title of his book in my show. But even deeper than that, we're going to interrogate that framing, a more perfect union, as our nation is at an inflection point. We see it. We see it in the headlines. We see it beyond the headlines as the U.S. commemorates its 250th anniversary. As we celebrate and commemorate the 100th anniversary of Black History Week turned Black History Month, this is quite the inflection point for us to do a look back and a look forward. And speaking of doing a look back, let me also just give you an update on the tribute to Reverend Jackson right here in Los Angeles on Friday. It was an incredible experience to be in community with so many civic leaders and faith leaders, with our KBLA family. It was an incredible salute to the continuing legacy, to the enduring legacy of Reverend Jackson. There was a multimedia presentation. There were remarks given by a number of folks, including LA Mayor Karen Bass. We heard from the Honorable Maxine Waters, who was very close to Reverend Jackson for so many years. We heard from the United Farm Workers co-founder and activist Dolores Huerta, who will be turning 96 years old. She was there to talk about her experiences with Reverend Jackson, among so many other folks. It was led by Tavis Smiley, our very own Tavis Smiley, who has his own stories, many stories of working for Reverend Jackson on the 84 and 88 campaign, and obviously being very close with him and the family over so many years. And the music was fantastic. A salute to the first AME gospel choir. The spirit was there, and the love for Reverend Jackson was palpable. And so, to everybody who came out to the historic First AME Church here in Los Angeles, a church that Reverend Jackson was no stranger to, thank you for coming out. And be sure to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel, because when we upload clips from that experience, you'll get a chance to see them first. When we come forward, the president of Sojourners and author of A More Perfect Union, a new vision for building the beloved community, we're going to talk to him about his work, his faith work, faith in action, as I like to think of it. Never heard of anybody who was able to put their faith into action at the World Bank and beyond. We're going to talk about that and more when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't. 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Dr. Portwise Today. Your guest host in for the great Jesse Jackson Jr. I am really delighted to welcome our next guest, Reverend Adam Russell Taylor. He's president of Sojourners and author of A More Perfect Union, a new vision for building the beloved community. For folks who may be less familiar, Reverend Taylor previously led faith initiatives at the World Bank Group and served as vice president in charge of advocacy for World Vision. He is a senior political director, or was a senior political director at Sojourners, and even has some experience back at the White House, the Obama White House to be specific, where he served as a White House fellow 2009 and 2010, and served in the White House Office of Cabinet Affairs and Public Engagement. I'm sure he has so many stories, and if we're lucky, we might hear just a few of them. Welcome to the show, Reverend Taylor.
Good to meet you, and a pleasure to be with you today.
Good to meet you too. Pleasure to meet you. First things first, talk to us about your origin story. When I read up about you, I thought, wow, these are a collection of really extraordinary experiences that you've had inside and outside of government, in the United States and beyond. Before we get to that, let's better understand your origin story. Talk to us about where the path that you're on first began.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And it actually gives me a chance to honor the legacy of Reverend Jackson, and my thoughts and prayers go out to his whole family today and the days to come. So I grew up very much in the shadow of the civil rights movement, and my parents made the controversial decision to get married in 1968, just a year after interracial marriage was legalized in this country. My mother is Black and my father's white. And they instilled in me a really strong belief that my generation, Generation X, inherited the unfinished business of the civil rights struggle. And they also instilled in me a strong belief that we are all made in the very image of God. And as a virtue of that, everyone has equal dignity and worth. And so I kind of became infatuated with the civil rights movement at an early age, and really became mesmerized by the faith and activism of leaders like, of course, Dr. King, but also Reverend Jackson and so many others, Congressman John Lewis, Ella Baker, and Fannie Lou Hamer. And so a lot of my career has kind of been animated by that. It's actually why I ultimately ended up writing the book, A More Perfect Union, a new vision for building the beloved community, because I became really attached to the moral vision that animated the civil rights struggle, which was the vision of the beloved community, and feel like we desperately need a kind of unifying, very bold vision to unite our country now, and something that could be a countervailing vision to what I would argue is a very dystopian, ahistorical vision, which is the Make America Great Again vision that has gripped at least one part of our country.
No, it's an extraordinary origin story. I want to go back to something you said about Gen X finishing the work of the civil rights movement. That, of course, being sort of a call to action that you understood very early in your life, very early in your activism. How well has Gen X done carrying that torch? Right now, there are a lot of folks who look to millennials like myself, who really came up, in the internet age, and Gen X, Gen Z, which speaks in memes from time to time. Talk to us about the contributions of Gen X, a generation that I think sometimes is a little misunderstood.
Yeah, I think that the jury's still out to some degree. I guess we are still trying to do our thing. I'll admit, so I got pretty frustrated when I was in college and in my kind of early years of my career. Because, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but I saw a lot of folks in my generation either becoming overly careerist, kind of having this get mine mentality, or being only focused on community service. And don't get it twisted, I'm a huge believer in community service. I'm a member of fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, whose motto is, first of all, service to all, we shall transcend all. But community service is not a substitute for civic activism. And I sense that many, not all, but many in my generation were not as focused on trying to build political power. We're not as focused on trying to advance a lot of that unfinished business, which Dr. King and certainly Reverend Jackson understood had to, at least in part, center on economic justice and economic opportunity for everyone. Certainly why Dr. King was organizing the Poor People's March before he was assassinated. And so part of what I've tried to do in my career, but also kind of with my generation, is really try to reinvigorate a commitment to civic activism. And, you know, I've been somewhat successful, although not as successful as I would like. And, you know, I'd argue, like, on the one hand, you know, our generation produced our first Black president, right? So that is something to be very proud of. And at the same time, our generation, in some ways, at the height of our political power, maybe at the height, but at close to our height of our political power, saw a kind of MAGA movement take hold. And, you know, this country elected Donald Trump twice. So I think it is certainly a very mixed record, and yet there's still much more to be written.
I really like this tension that you've just presented us with between community service and civic activism. You know, I think right now, considering the state of our body politic, considering advances in technology, which have also brought an influx of mis and disinformation, I think the challenges we have around media literacy. I mean, literally, you know, it's becoming harder and harder and harder to make the distinction between what is artificial intelligence and what is produced by human beings. And you really have raised a question, at least in my mind, and perhaps the minds of our leaders, learners, and listeners here today, about this tension between community service and community activism. And, you know, I really want to give you a chance to sort of unpack what you mean when you say that in your critique of Gen X, is that perhaps your generation wasn't as focused on building political power. There are lots of folks that join civic organizations. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think sometimes we may get it twisted. And we think that being a part of that civic organization and doing voter education work, voter registration work, sometimes we think that that is the work as opposed to being part of the work.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, part of it is that we need community service, right? There's a lot of ways in which organizations, from churches to nonprofits, really provide core services for people. They meet people's immediate needs. But one of the challenges, and I'm going to put this in the faith context, although I think this is relevant beyond the faith context. Oftentimes when people think of social justice, they will kind of immediately revert to whether people's needs are met and not focus as much on the root causes of people's pain or the root causes of their needs, right? No amount of community service was going to tear down the walls of Jim Crow segregation. That required a fundamental change of law in the land, namely the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And so I'm not saying that everything is solved because of policy and legislation, but I think it is crucial that we understand that a lot of things aren't going to change or actually can go backward if we take our eye off the ball of legislation, not just at the national level, but all the way down to the local level. And so one of the things that I have become much more schooled in and ultimately become a huge believer in is the power of community organizing. And community organizing can exist in a lot of different forms, but it's a critical way that you are able to help people understand their own agency and help to, combine the power of people with the power of money to ultimately affect change. And some of that has to happen or can happen through the electoral sphere, but some of it has to happen very much through the kind of community civic sphere. And, I think if we kind of look at how the right, particularly the religious right, built up an incredible amount of power over 4 to 5 decades, that has culminated in many ways in the moment that we're in now. And we didn't see the same degree of organizing in many respects among many Christians in particular that have a real passion for justice. And, I would certainly argue that you can't separate a passion for justice from a passion for following Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I really appreciate you, sort of making that distinction, reminding us that, community service is it's all fine and well. I believe in community service. I promote community service, as do you. But making the distinction that community service doesn't always address the root causes, and calling out sort of the power of community organizing, the power of helping everyday people, ordinary people, calling out sort of the power of community organizing, the power of helping everyday people, ordinary people, to realize their agency, to identify the people who have the power to give them what they want, and to